Carolyn Dube here. What's the play for today? Well, today's play is all about turning non-traditional art supplies into art supplies for this week's Let's Play video. So what's the non-traditional item? It's these plastic balls. Now these are the balls that come in little kitty ball pits. They are extremely thin plastic, which kind of makes it nice because if you're a little kid bouncing around, it doesn't hurt then. But my dogs got a hold of these, and when they chewed them up, they turned them into shapes like this. And I fell in love with them as potential pattern making tools for the jelly plate. So the first thing that I need to do is get some paint onto this jelly plate. I'm using the 8x10 jelly plate and some acrylic paints here. And then I'm going to spread it around using the brayer. Now there's going to be a lot of paint on this. It's juicy. It's a very, very generous amount of paint. And I'm definitely going to clean off the brayer, and just that mess from cleaning off the brayer is awesome. But anyway, here's what we're going to be using to put texture into this. Those are the little ball pit balls that little kids have. Now mine, well, my dogs really liked playing with them, and they would chew them up and they'd take on all these funny shapes. They really didn't work as a ball anymore. And after they chewed on a couple of them, I realized, yeah, I'm not going to keep these around. So we took them away from them, but I just couldn't part with those mangled up plastic balls. And I'm actually using it to make all sorts of random patterns here. Now I'm not thinking real hard about this. I am just popping that everywhere. I can try and get some of the paint from that off onto that cleanup paper, but that really doesn't transfer the paint very well. What it really does well though is make those random patterns. So now it's time to pull some of those prints off. Now there's a lot of paint on there, so we're going to get more than one print on this. Now the paper that I'm using, this is cardstock. It is 90-pound weight, and I've got a link over on the blog at A Colorful Journey to the exact brand that I use. I get it off of Amazon. And like I said, there's lots of paint on this, so I can easily get a second coat, although really just one piece of paper at a time there. As I lift this up, still have lots and lots of paint and color on there, so I'm going to get a third pull. And with this one, third one may be about the last that I can get off of this. Even though there's a lot of paint on there, 3 is probably going to be my limit. But I'm expecting a fair amount of paint on it though. And indeed there is, and lots of pattern with it too. Now my dogs were nice enough to deflate mine, but if you need to deflate those that you buy, you just need to poke a hole in it somewhere, because without the air being let out somewhere, the balls don't collapse very well. So just a simple little pinhole, and all of a sudden you can shape it into whatever your heart desires, and you can get all sorts of different pattern making shapes for jelly printing. Well, now you know the basics of how it works. Now let's kind of give it some variations. For this one, I'm going to put a metallic paint in there. That green is a metallic, wonderful shimmer. It's by PBO, one of my favorite metallics to use. And I'm just going to spread stuff around. With this, I've got another juicy brayer because this uses a lot of paint. So those cleanup sheets, yeah, those are pretty much paper joy to me too. And for this one, I'm just going to pick another one of those ball pits. You know what? I can even do it two-handed. And why am I doing it two-handed? Does it give me a better pattern? Does it make my prints better? No, it's just a lot of fun to get all my hands in there making a mess. Now again, you can kind of stamp off with the excess paint on them, but I found that doesn't really do much for me. Now as I take the prints, the first one, it's going to have all sorts of greens and blues and yellows and that kind of stuff on it. But it's the second print where I'm so thankful that I don't really clean my jelly plate off in between doing things, because there are little bits of pinks that showed up, and that is leftover bits from the last bit of printing that I did that you saw in the first part of the video. I love having those little remnants peek out in different places, so if you're the kind of person that cleans your jelly plate religiously every time, I really encourage you to let a little bit of the color ride and see how it shows up in interesting ways. Love the way those pinks are popping out there on this one. Now I'm going to play around with the entire rainbow. I am going to load this jelly plate up with a boatload of paint. So this is going to be very juicy, and really this to me is just an excuse to play with the entire rainbow. I am going to grab my smallest brayer because I want to keep the colors separate. That way we see all the different colors. Why I go from the green right on top of the yellow to kind of mix those together, yeah, we're going to call that an oops. Don't know why I did it, but it is an outstanding opportunity presenting suddenly, And I guess the opportunity is to remind me to clean that brayer off more if I want to keep those colors pure and not mingle them together as much. Now, as much as I was thinking that, it's not like I can remember it for this long period of time, so I'm just going to keep working that blue into that purple to make it go back to a purple color. Guess I'm a slow learner on that stuff. Well, now it's time to bring in those wonderful pattern makers and start just twisting and moving and making and just going to town with it. Oh, I can stop at any point, and really, I was just having too much fun and I didn't want to stop, so I just kept right on going. Well, if you're brand new to monoprinting, the gelli plate, and all the things that it can do, and there are gazillions of ways that you can make things with these patterns, colors, textures, I have got a bunch of resources over on my blog that can help you get started as well as give you some inspiration if you've already started playing with them. And you can find them all over on the blog under the freebies tab, and that's over at acolorfuljourney.com. Well, let's start taking some prints with this. That first print's gonna have a whole lot of paint on it because there's a lot of paint on this gelli plate. And y'all, am I in love with that print. I absolutely love all the color and pattern happening on that one. And I'm willing to bet I'm probably gonna like the ghost print too. And there's so much paint on here, this ghost print is gonna have a ton of paint on it. And sure enough, it absolutely does. And there is even enough on there for print number 3. Yeah, I used a lot of paint. Well, thanks for joining me for today's play. If you've enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you know somebody that you think would enjoy a little bit of this play in their day, I'd so appreciate it if you shared this video with them. And of course, if you'd like more play, head on over and get signed up for my newsletter because there is a downloadable video and PDF waiting for you there. And every one of my newsletters has some kind of downloadable treat or goodie inside of it. Thanks so much for letting me be a part of your colorful journey.